Hi everybody, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Linda.
And welcome to the Paranormal Pub Table, where we're going to talk about the paranormal at a pub table.
The ghosts were twisting and stomping all around the town. Just dancing to the beat of the Mercy sound. Laughing and screaming, just mighty roar. Coming through the walls and walking through the doors. Flipping and sliding round and round. Down in old ghost town, in old ghost town. Down in old ghost town, in old ghost town. Let me form two lines in the middle of the street.
Tonight, we're going to talk about the 5 most haunted roads in Eastern Virginia. Now, number 1 on our list is a place that many people have heard of. It has many legends and stories associated with it, and it's called Old House Woods, specifically Haven Beach Road.
Now, number 1 on our list is going to be a place called Old House Woods. Now, Old House Woods actually is a road that runs through an area called Diggs, Virginia. That's in Matthews County, and there's a very dense patch of woods that surround this road, and there are all kinds of stories that have been told for nearly 200 years concerning this road. Stories of ghost ships, stories of soldiers seen walking along the road, stories of a skeleton that's seen in armor down there that has terrorized some of the local people. So there's lots of interesting stories, and that's probably one of the most haunted and scariest places in Eastern Virginia.
Now, we personally have had some experiences up at Old House Woods, particularly along Haven Beach Road. And down Haven Beach Road is where the old house sits, not to be confused with the old house that Old House Woods is named after. That house burnt down years ago. But there's still an old house that stands up there. And one night, there were 3 of us, and one of our members, he was moving out of town. So we figured, we'll go out and we'll hit up some haunted places for his last night here. And we ended up at Old House Woods, probably around 2 or 3 in the morning. And we pulled off across from that old house, and we got out of the car, and the 2 guys I was with were looking down this road/driveway that's across from the house, and they saw something moving back and forth, and they called my attention to it, and I came over, and sure enough, there was something pacing back and forth. It was just a dark figure way down the road, and it stopped. It turned, and it started coming towards us, and as it got closer to us, we saw the outline of a person wearing what appeared to be like an old Spanish conquistador helmet on his head. And we hopped in the car. We didn't, we weren't sure if it was a person or not. So we hopped in the car, spun around and shone the headlights down there, and there was nothing there. There was no other cars up there. I don't know where this thing came from, where it went, but it was quite an experience. Which is why I would, that and many more experiences that we've had up there, there have been times that we've heard voices off in the distance that could have been people, but who's to say? It was an awkward hour for there to be people out there in the middle of the woods. And we did see the figure on one other occasion when there was a group of 6 of us up there. And we saw a figure kind of peering out from behind a tree on the corner of that same road. And we shone the light and it was gone. And then we watched for a while, and in the darkness, sure enough, this figure just peers out from behind this tree as if he's watching what we're doing. Now, we've gone up there several times to Old House Woods. What's your vibe that you get?
Well, the first thing that you feel driving down this road is that you get this feeling like somebody is watching you. And not only that, but also the feeling that whoever is watching you really does not want you there.
Right, right. And, it's definitely, when you're driving down this, it's Haven Beach Road is the one that goes right down to the beach. And you definitely have an eerie feeling the whole way down there. I don't know if it's just the wind, kind of the way it plays upon the swamp grass and such, and the tall, lifeless trees that just kind of grow out of the marsh.
Right.
Or is it that there might be something there? And I got to tell you, there was this one experience where we were up there. It was Friday the 13th and a full moon last year, and we decided, this might be a night where, who knows, maybe it'll be more active because of the, the full moon, if nothing else. And we're looking for a good place to go, and we decide to go to Old House Woods. Well, we stop in the same place across from that house, and there was a bunch of dogs barking off in the distance. And they weren't anything paranormal. They were a bunch of hound dogs. And they come running up the road. I don't know if they were running after something or running away from something, but they come running up the road, Haven Beach Road, and as they're coming up to where we have the car pulled over at, something, a dark, about the size of a large dog, came flying across the road and plowed into the side of one of these hound dogs. And you could hear the dog yip and go off like into the ditch on the side of the road. And ran down there to see if we could help him. We're shining the flashlight along. He's gone. I don't know what happened to him. It's almost like this dark, dog-like figure came by, grabbed this other real dog, non-paranormal dog, and took him off into the woods. I don't know. It's weird. Now, there was also, while we were walking along the road, we walked down towards Haven Beach, and the other investigator I was with, something caught his eye. And at the same time, you could hear all the crickets, you could hear all the frogs, you could hear the marsh was alive with all the sounds of the night. It just stopped. And that's typical when something's there.
Right.
But for the whole marsh, there's marsh all around, for it all to just get silent at the same time,
Yes.
was weird. And at the same time, like I said, something caught his eye. And what he told me is he looked up, and by the time I looked, it was already gone, but he saw something jumping from those tall trees that grow out of the marsh, way up from one treetop to the other. Some kind of like monkey-like creature,
Right.
which is a report that I've never heard before about Old House Woods, but it's definitely weird,
Yeah.
Maybe it was like Bigfoot or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen video before of juvenile Bigfoots jumping through the treetops, and I've also heard reports that Bigfoots also hunt deer. Whether or not that's true or not, it's all speculation. But
I've never seen a deer at Old House Woods.
I don't believe I have either.
Yeah,
but
no.
it would stand to reason if they're hungry, they might eat a dog.
People have videos of these baby Bigfoots.
Right.
There's a big feet. What's plural for Bigfoot? Is it Bigfoots or big feet?
I think it's just Bigfoot.
It's kind of like singular like deer.
Right.
So there's actually videos of this baby Bigfoot?
Yes, I don't know what kind of show that it was that I was watching a number of years ago, but somebody had filmed a baby Bigfoot that looked like it was swinging and just kind of having fun up in one of the treetops.
Huh.
And they had a clear enough image of it that you could tell that this was not a chimpanzee or some other form of ape that you might normally find in a tree, and it certainly wasn't in an area of the United States where they have that sort of thing.
That's interesting.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Now let's move on and talk about Pocahontas Parkway. Pocahontas Parkway is another one that's on our list of top 5 haunted roads in Eastern Virginia. And this isn't typical to haunted roads. You often picture haunted roads as like a dark, creepy road that you'll drive down. Somewhere off in the woods, not a lot of people around or anything like that.
Right.
And Pocahontas Parkway is like a toll major interstate,
Yes.
right? What's the
Yes.
number for it, the route number?
895.
895, right. Now, what's the story with Pocahontas Parkway?
Now, as Jeff had said, Pocahontas Parkway was built as a toll road. It was in an area south of Richmond that connects 2 major interstates. And the Pocahontas Parkway was built through an area that supposedly was Native American hunting grounds, perhaps even burial grounds at one time. That has been the speculation over the years because on a number of occasions, people, including the local police departments, have seen what they believe is a Native American on horseback that has been riding up and down next to the road. There have also been reports by the people who man the tolls at night that they hear what sounds like Native American war cries off in the distance. So, and also they've seen a number of other spirits off on the sides of the road and off in the area. So there's been a number of strange things that have been there that relate to Native Americans.
So Indians on horseback, war drums,
Right.
war
Yes.
cries. People have also seen stuff darting out in front of their cars. Now I think this was also used as hunting grounds by the Native Americans.
Yes.
The what was
I guess it would be the Powhatans.
Right,
And
that's right.
There's a number of tribes
There's
in
a
the
couple
area.
of other tribes, that used it. So they had the burial ground. They used it for their hunting grounds. I think they found they did an archaeological dig,
Right.
and they found some remains or some evidence that there were villages there at one time too in the
Yes.
area. So it's not unreasonable that this would be haunted by these Native Americans. The spirits would be restless, being that this interstate was built right over their road. Now,
Right.
we were at an investigation. It was a private residential investigation in Sutherland,
Yes.
and we had the opportunity to hop on the Pocahontas Parkway.
Yes.
After we made a Paranormal Pit Stops video at the sheets down there, make sure you check that out, paranormalpitstops.com. But we hopped on the Pocahontas Parkway just to see if we could catch a glimpse of one of these Native American spirits along the side of the road, or anything unusual. And I got to say, my vibe about the road, I mean, it was surprisingly eerie for being a major interstate like that.
Right.
It was about 3 or 4 in the morning, so there were no
Yes.
other cars on the road. But there was certain parts of it where there was definitely an absence of lights.
Right.
And, not a lot of buildings around,
Yes.
and it added to the eeriness of it. Now, unfortunately, we didn't see any kind of Native Americans or anything like that. But what was your vibe that you got from?
Very much the same. As you said, there were a lot of dark parts of the road where there just didn't seem to be a lot of street lights, a lot of things, that would illuminate the area. That may have lent to the kind of eerie feel of it, but it was also just a very strange, featureless landscape. You have those kind of green rolling hills that come up and rise up away from the road. And that's pretty much it. I mean, you can still, if it weren't for the pavement of the road running through there, you could really envision the Native Americans occupying that land
Absolutely,
still.
absolutely. Now let's come down another one on our list. Let's talk about Crawford Road.
Right.
Crawford Road. It's a road that runs between Newport News and Yorktown,
Mm-hmm.
and this is an urban legend that attracts the attention of many teenagers, thrill seekers, ghost hunters, you name it. Everyone goes out there to catch a glimpse of this woman that falls to her demise from the bridge.
Yes.
And it's said that if you drive your car under there and look in your rearview mirror, sometimes you'll catch a glimpse of her dangling there under the bridge. Now, another story is that if you park your car under there, turn off the engine, you can hear something hit the top of your car, as if she's jumping off the bridge and her feet are hitting the top of your car. Also, there's been a dark figure that's been reported that comes out in front of the vehicle, and as long as that figure's there, people will be parked under the bridge, they'll hear the thump on their car, they'll see this dark figure with red eyes, and as long as it's there, they won't be able to start their car.
Right.
What's the deal with this dark figure? Well, for starters, what's the deal with the woman? Like, what's the backstory for her?
Well, there are a number of stories related to it. I'm not sure exactly what is the truth, like many other urban legends. They've just sort of been embellished over the years. One of the stories is that the KKK was very active in the area, and that this was a young black woman who, for some reason, they hung from the bridge. Another story is that because the woman has often been seen wearing a long white gown, the story is that perhaps she was a bride at one time, and that for some reason she was unhappy with who she was going to marry, or just for some reason she was absolutely certain she was not going to get married that day, and decided to hang herself from the bridge. Now, you also have to kind of understand the scene. This is a two-lane, one either direction kind of road. There's no lines on the road. It cuts through a fairly dense patch of woods, and you come to this this overpass where the Yorktown tour roads pass over top of this road, and the stone that is used to support this overpass on either side has been layered with graffiti for probably decades now. So just the atmosphere itself, the complete lack of houses on that section of road, the darkness, there's no light out there, really lends to the eeriness, and probably helps to fuel people's imaginations a little bit too.
Right. Now, if we didn't put a picture of Crawford Road up there, let's throw a picture of that up real quick so everyone can see what it looks like.
Right.
And the thing is with this, you know, what causes a place to be haunted? Maybe with urban legends, a lot of times the story is made up, but is there some little nugget of truth
Right. Yes.
that are causing these stories, these reports to just, you know,
come about,
you know?
Yes.
And with Battlefield Tour Road being the bridge that crosses over it, you think about all that happened along there. Washington's encampments back there, the French encampments back there, there's a French mass burial ground, there was a little
Right.
village back there that, you know, is gone now. It's all, the woods grew up and reclaimed it. There was an old plantation back there. There was fighting all along there, the French artillery park. With all this history and emotion that took place just in that area, could this be a reflection or an echo from something that happened way back? That's not necessarily the story that they made up, but could people be seeing something, and could this that they're seeing be an echo from the past, from the Revolutionary War, or the Civil War,
Yes.
or, you know, whatever could have taken place that, you know, caused something to still be there reliving its final moments?
Yeah.
Or could it be the woman who was stood up at the altar, or,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But it's interesting to think where these stories come from, and what is that nugget of truth that caused these to go viral,
Right.
per
yeah.
se. As we would say with Facebook, you know, I don't know how to go viral back then, just word of mouth, but
Yeah. Yeah. Very
regardless, viral.
Now, there's also the personal experience we had down there not too long ago that I think is worth mentioning.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. And what we were doing is we were taking some pictures. We wanted to get a good picture of the bridge, and we've been investigating Crawford Road. I wouldn't say investigating because we can't really get out. We can't really walk around as we'd like to. It is illegal to stop under that bridge and get out. It's illegal to walk up on top of that bridge.
Yes.
It's federal property, so don't do it. But we never did it. You know, but let's just say we've been going to Crawford Road for some 7 years now. The experiences up there have been a couple notable ones. But for the amount of times we've been there and the lack of stuff we've seen, we were kind of losing hope for Crawford Road.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
And we're up there, like I said, we wanted to get a good picture of it. We're walking around historic Yorktown and said, let's go over to Crawford Road because we're here. And we come up to the bridge from the Newport News side, and we slow down. And I lean out the window, getting ready to take the picture. As I do that, I hear these heavy, heavy footsteps come running up to the driver's side window where I'm leaning out of, you know, and I'm thinking, I don't know if it's a person, I don't know if it's a bear, I don't know if
Right,
there's bears
yeah.
there, but you never know. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't want to find out because it was running at us with a purpose. And when something's running at you with a purpose, you don't want to know what that purpose is. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
So I accelerated slightly. Well, I slammed on the gas. And, you know, Linda asked me what I heard, and I told her. Well, at the same time I heard that, she saw a dark figure completely black out the back window of my truck. So this thing must have been at least, what, 5 feet tall?
Yeah, we
At
decided
least.
at least about your height, which
At
is
least,
about
well,
6
6
foot.
foot tall. Yeah.
Yes.
And we talked about this, and we're like, no, we got to go back and see what this is. Because if it was a person, you know, how did he get there? There's no other cars around.
Right.
This, where the bridge is the middle of the road. I mean, it's not like there's houses way down at the beginning and there's houses up at the other end. There's no
Yes.
houses in this area. So we go back and we didn't see anything when we looped back around
Yeah.
with our windows up and the doors locked.
Yes.
So next on the list is Milady Bridge. Now, Milady Bridge has quite an interesting backstory to it. And it crosses over Milady Swamp, and it's in
Middlesex County,
Middlesex
Virginia.
County, right. And the story goes that this was probably around the turn of the century, not the turn of this century, the turn of like last century,
Yeah.
around the early 1900s, late 1800s. And we figured now it's, you know, it's a paved bridge. It was probably a little wooden rickety bridge at the time or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And an old lady was coming down on her horse and buggy. And it was quite a storm. And as you know, in this eastern part of Virginia, when storms hit, they hit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you know it's raining because you're getting wet. But,
Right.
you know, regardless, it was storming. And she's trying to come home from wherever she is. This is, once again, an urban legend. It's not anything that we could find any factual evidence to.
Mm-hmm.
She comes to this bridge, and it's nearly washed out with the flooding. And she has to determine, do I go back the other way, several miles in this storm to the nearest house, or do I just cross this bridge and I'm almost home? She decides to try to cross the bridge. So as her horse, you know, treks into the water and the carriage comes rolling in behind him, I guess the current caused the horse to lose his footing, washed his feet out from under him, took him down, and with him goes the carriage, washed off down the river, never seen again. So now when you go down there, what are you supposed to hear?
Well, there are reports from several people that you can hear a strange knocking on the underside of the bridge, and people have speculated about what perhaps this knocking may be. But they believe that it may be caused by this woman, the spirit of this woman still lingering behind there. Some people have mentioned that perhaps it's like the clip-clop of the horse's feet that you're hearing. Maybe the echo of it, you know, on the wooden bridge that may have once been there. So it's kind of a vague story. We're not real sure what the knocking is.
Right. Now we had the opportunity to go out there and check this bridge out. There's nowhere to really pull over and get out and investigate like we would have liked to have done.
Yes.
But we did find a way to get out.
Right.
And
Yes.
you know, the ravine that you look down the side of the bridge, it was pretty dark down there. We couldn't really
It
gauge
was.
how high the bridge was from the water. You could
Right.
hear the water.
Yes.
And it was a slightly windy night.
Mm-hmm.
And we heard what could have been the source of the reports for the horse hooves.
Right. Yes. You know, as he said, it's seemed like the water was much farther down there than we had thought that it may be, due to the reports of it washing out the bridge at that time. Now, of course, you know, water tables change in different areas, but there are certainly a lot of trees and things that have grown up in this little ravine all around this, what appears to be a little creek down there. And some of these trees are certainly tall enough to have reached the underside of this bridge, and maybe the source of the knocking. We're not sure.
Right. It could have very well been one of those tree branches hitting the underside of that bridge because
Yes.
we heard the knocking. We're not convinced it was paranormal,
Right.
We're not convinced it's not, but one plausible, very possible, reasonable explanation
Yes.
would probably be the ghost of the horse crossing the bridge.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Let's go on to the last place,
Mm-hmm.
the last of our top 5 haunted roads in Eastern Virginia, Gallows Road, aka Nicholson Street, which is found down in Colonial Williamsburg. And the reason this road is supposed to be haunted is because it was reported to be the road that led from the old jail down to the gallows. And many of Blackbeard's men were taken down this road on a carriage. They'd sit on top of their coffin, go down to the gallows, and on the way back, they'd be in the coffin. So they called this the Wagon of Death, because if you were riding it, you were going to die.
Right.
So, fast forward
Mm-hmm.
to present day, probably as far back as the 60s.
Yes.
People have reported hearing this Wagon of Death.
Yes. Yes. The creaking of the wagon wheels, the movement of the horses down the road. A lot of the roads down there in Colonial Williamsburg, if you're not familiar with it, are cobblestones. So the horses' hooves falling against the cobblestone street would have made a very distinct sound.
Absolutely. And, you know, we had the chance to go down there and investigate this. Williamsburg is a beautiful city, especially at night. It just has a eerie beauty about it.
Right.
Whereas the tourists vacate the streets. They're empty. There will be a couple college kids walking through. Maybe a couple ghost hunters you'll run into. If you're there early enough, you'll see a ghost tour going around.
Yes.
But if you're there late enough, it'll be pretty much empty.
Mm-hmm.
And the silence is almost creepy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes you'll hear something off in the distance. You won't know what it is. You won't know
Right.
the source of it. And people have reported hearing this wagon. You know what I mean? And this is long after the hours that they give the horse-drawn tours, the carriage rides. And they've also reported hearing the sounds of the gallows, like the floor dropping, the neck
Right.
snapping. People have reported hearing that too. I don't know why, because I'm not sure that the gallows were actually on Gallows Road.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
who knows? It's just one thing that people have reported hearing. And we went down there. We did an EVP session. We went around with some EMF detectors.
Mm-hmm.
And what was your thoughts on our investigation that we did down there?
Well, like a lot of other places that we go, we don't necessarily catch anything that we think is significant. But the road definitely is very creepy. It gives you that feel that like many parts of Colonial Williamsburg, where you can sense that there's something there, but you just don't. You keep looking over your shoulder to see if somebody might be looking at you or watching you. You just don't see anything.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, you think that with all the history that happened there, you know, to be able to catch a glimpse of it, whether it's just a sound that you hear or a visual that you see, it would be amazing to catch a glimpse into history at such a significant place.
Yes.
This concludes our list of the top 5 haunted roads in Eastern Virginia.
So thank you for watching, and if you would, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can find a lot of other videos for investigations that we have done in the local area.
And if you didn't like what you saw, subscribe anyway. Maybe the next one will be better.
The ghosts were twisting and stomping all around the town. Just dancing to the beat of the Mercy sound. Laughing and screaming, just mighty roar. Coming through